I just write out the questions for like.
She writes out the questions. I just print the questions.
I'm just sitting there too. It's all fancy. You can like jot it everywhere. Heyo.
Hello. Happy Thursday.
So we just decided in the last 3 minutes that we need a new producer.
So applications will be sent soon.
He played music we did not approve. I mean, the dance music was great, but there was like
he forgot to turn off our mics.
So we were saying, I don't know what we were saying.
And he talks too much about a washer and dryer when we're trying to prep for show.
Yeah.
So if you think you can fill this position and replace Hank, please drop your application in our mailbox.
Or in the comments.
All right.
We're going to move our sign, but nobody commented about our sign.
Come on.
I'm a little offended.
Bring some fun.
So it said, like, did you watch the new Star Wars movie this weekend?
Did you watch the new Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
Did you watch the new Star Wars movie?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But we just thought it'd be funny because we were hoping people would be like, it was Avengers, you idiots. We're not
Amy
idiots.
thought it'd be funny for us to play dumb blondes.
Yeah.
But you're not blonde.
I know. I'm at a table of blondes. I have some blonde tips for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did know that it was not a Star Wars movie. So.
All right. So here we are tonight talking about building your empire. And by empire, we mean legacy. And I'm Amy Houston.
I'm Danielle Valentine.
We are your hosts that you get to see every week and hear every week. So hello. And we have two lovely guests. We'll start over here. Who are you?
Tell us kind of who you are, what you have at home,
What you have at home.
what
Got a
your
lot of things
family
at home.
dynamics is.
Who lives in your house?
That works for who you
Who
have
lives
at
in your
home.
house?
So I am Stacy Thacker, and I have a husband, Justin, and I have 2 little boys. I have a little boy, Elliot, who just turned 3, and then Emerson, he will be 5 this month. So I've got my hands full with those 2 little guys.
Awesome.
And I am Jessica Holt. I have a couple people at home. We just had a recent new addition. My husband, Ryan, and then we have 2 children, Harper, who is 3 months old. She's precious. So
Congrats.
I know we're tied finally. And then my oldest child's 2. Yes, we need to be tied. His name is Harvey.
Harper and Harvey.
That's
I
cute.
like it.
I love those names.
I also love that your child is 3 months old and you are out at bedtime.
Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and we have
Thank
to
you.
say, this was what, day 2 back to work from
3.
3.
Yeah.
Day 3. So when I asked her to be on the show, I was like, oh, you're not back from maternity leave yet. Well, I need to add something to your plate.
It's awesome. I love it. So I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. Well, I have both going, so we're good. So we have your comments up. We have the feed up. So if you, throughout this show, want to chime in, ask questions of these 2 ladies or us, please throw a comment. If you don't want it to be public, feel free to send us a message at any time. Also, if you love what we're talking about or just want to share and support us, please click the share button and share on your page so that we can broadcast to more viewers and reach more women.
Yeah. So let's start first with the question of what do you think of when you hear the word empire? Which would have been really fun if the movie this past weekend was Star Wars. But it's not.
Oh, man,
Good
Amy.
point.
So what do you think of with the word empire?
When I'm thinking of empire, I'm thinking of, we're talking about kind of like finances and stuff like that tonight. That's part of the discussion. I think of your assets and what you have. Personally, for me, I think of my family's empire as, like what we have financially, our assets, what we're building, what we're growing from now until retirement. So,
Yeah.
Awesome.
How about you, Jessica?
So I was like, empire. It almost kind of has a negative connotation to it. And I Googled it. I was like, well, what's the, formal definition of empire? And it's really an extensive group of states or countries. And then I kind of started to think of it in kind of my financial advisor's mind. So really almost like building a financial plan, you consolidate it down into your family. It's almost a way to think about your own empire. So I thought of, it may be a vast amount of things that you want to do in your life, whether it's go visit an island, you got to fly to that part of, the empire, or we need to build a bridge, cross our moat or build a house kind of in newer terms. So thinking about it kind of in that way, and you have to have a map of your surroundings. So how are we going to build that complex structure of kind of your own family empire?
Yeah, I love that.
Definitely.
And now how does that contrast to the word legacy? How do we think that compares?
So I love the word legacy because specifically I think it makes an impact on our families and the people around us. I think everybody has an internal desire to leave a legacy, whether it's passing something down to our children, whether it's building something in our community. I think we want to make the world a better place than where we found it. So that's what I see as legacy, whether it's monetary, whether it's giving back, whether it's something that you pass down a recipe, like that's legacy to me.
Yeah.
even values too. Like that's kind of what I thought about with legacy was my kids are my legacy, and not only that, but the values that I instill in them. That's what I am wanting to get passed down the most are those. So
yeah, I think in our culture now, people talk so much about building your empire and the hustle and the work and like how can you have more and do more. And I myself can totally get caught up in all of that. But just this idea, like tonight we'll be having the conversation about those things, because I do think that there is value in being financially secure and making wise decisions and in growing assets and things like that. But then it's also like, how do we get back to the heart of the why
Exactly.
that we're doing
Yeah,
that?
why are we doing that? Why are we hustling so much? And I think that sometimes, going a different angle from like kind of where you guys were going, and sometimes individually they feel like building an empire is your success of, I have to work a real job and I've got to make this amount and I've got to have the great house and I've got to keep going. But what we really want to focus on is that building an empire doesn't always mean working full-time, part-time, staying home, side hustle, or not. It can be just the values you instill in your child, what you're building that you're going to be passing on.
Mm-hmm. But the idea is to be building something.
Something
right?
needs to be done, no matter, and kind of goes back, I say this every episode, is I feel like as women and in our society and our social media, we're constantly comparing. We're constantly comparing ourselves with others. I'm not as, I said this before the show, and I said, I can't stay home with my kids every day. There's no way. I do not feel intimidated that Stacy is able to spend every day with her kids. I know not, like I work to not do that, but some people may think, am I less of an empire builder or a mother because I don't do this or I don't do that? Or our family isn't financially planning for our retirement and our future now. Is that less? Like, this is your empire and you're going to build it at your level and your strengths and your steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to throw in a lot of like opinions and thoughts and talk about this stuff tonight, but it's your empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's important.
So going the financial route to start a little bit is, do we think financial stability is important? And if so, why?
Yeah. Let's start with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and first, actually, we didn't.
The financial planner.
We did not really introduce, like, kind of what. Can you give us, like, a little bit of what you do? Like,
yeah, that'll be helpful.
Because your advice is going to be very, much more sound than ours. So, kind of tell us, like,
no, not more sound, just different.
It
sounds solidarity.
Let us know kind of what you do and where your experience lies, so that kind of our viewers understand where you're coming from, because you're going to have like actual fact knowledge.
Sure. So to tell you a little bit more about my what, I'm a financial planner with Northwestern Mutual. I've owned my own practice since 2015. I've worked in the industry for almost 8 years now, so I had a lot of knowledge before I opened my own practice. We're very blessed to be able to move the practice with us when we moved and service clients from all over the country. So typically what I do with a family is the why is most important to me. What are your goals? Because we all do have a legacy. So really it starts with sitting down with a couple or family and really talking about what their goals are, whether it's buying a house, whether it's putting kids through college, whether it's saving for retirement, whether it's getting a second home, like whatever those goals are, let's make a roadmap. Let's make a plan to get there. And that consists of a bunch of different things. Typically we talk about protecting first. So one, you have to protect your income. Really important, because how are you able to reach those goals if you don't have something to protect your income? If something happens to, God forbid, a spouse, somebody in the household, what's going to replace that income? And then we talk about optimizing, so bringing down debt and how we can do that. There's a couple different methods to tackle debt, and then growing. So let's systematically be putting money towards retirement or buying a second home, a new vehicle, whatever those goals are.
Yeah.
So
and also very important.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes.
Yeah. And Stacy, what do you do?
I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have a couple side hustles that I do from home, just all work from home stuff, but my main gig is just taking care of my boys. But when I first had Emerson, my oldest son, I was still working, and that was not working for my family at all. And that was literally what made us completely change our finances and the way we were living. Now, we weren't living extravagantly. We didn't have credit card debt or anything like that. We had just like piles and piles of student loans.
Mm.
And
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, if you're watching, like, give us a high five for student loans.
yeah,
Mine
so,
are officially finally paid off.
Yeah, so I mean, when I finally came home and like had to have that conversation with my husband, like, hey, guess what? I'm completely unhappy doing what I'm doing, and we have to change it. I have to stay home, or I'm gonna go crazy. Luckily, my husband like welcomed that with open arms, and we had like a kitchen table discussion where we're like, all right, like, what do we need to do? And the first thing was, let's look at our budget and see where we're gonna be when you quit your job. And it was literally just financially impossible for me to quit. I mean, we were just paying so much in student loan debt every month. And so that's when we decided right then and there, like, we were going to change things. We were going to cut back on just every aspect of our lives and just pay down the debt. And it took us about 4 years, but it was $121,000 that we paid off in 4 years.
That's
And,
amazing.
Yeah.
And I have to share, because this was one of my, this is so impacting to me, but I think you posted it like a year or 2 years ago.
July 6th.
Okay.
I paid it off. Yeah.
And I remember, so I am on Facebook and Instagram quite often, and I remember reading this post, and it was that impacting to me, because you've never said this to me in person. It was just because that Facebook post. But there was lines in there that said, I'm sorry, friends, for not being able to do girls' night outs, and I'm sorry for not being able to go out, but this was my priority with my family, was saying no to the things that I wanted most to reach a family goal. And that was so big to me, because I was like, I've seen that. Like, there's been so many times where I'm like, oh, Stacey can't go to this, or Stacey can't do this. But then on a broader picture, you guys made this commitment and you did it in 4 years. And so that was just amazing. And it shows that it is possible. It shows viewers, like, this is completely possible when you put your mind to it. Yeah. Michelle Brown said hi.
Michelle.
I love that. I love that. And I love kind of tying the two ideas together. It's like, what's your why? Like, what is it that you want? Some people want to be able to be home every day with their kids, and they love that, and they're fulfilled by that. And others want to be able to do the girls' night outs and want to be able to kind of have like those extras. And I just think it's really cool to have people of different mindsets. That's what the show is all about with anything we're discussing.
Yeah, definitely.
Is the idea that, like, there can be different things that fill us each up. And there can be different things that make us motivated, like, to save. Whether it's because you're going to be motivated to make wiser decisions so you can stay home, motivated to make wiser decisions so that you can have the things you want more than others. So I just think that that's really cool.
And that's important. And I can, just a snippet, kind of where our paths really got close is, my ex-husband was hurt in January 2017, and I think I met with you in March, kind of like, we are down to one income, but I don't want to stop paying. So I'm self-employed. I've been self-employed for years, and it was, I contribute 100% to my retirements, and that helps with my anxiety, because I know that when I'm 65, 70 years old, there's going to be something there. When you're self-employed, you don't pay into Social Security or 401 or pensions or anything. Like, that was my comfort. But then we were down to one income. And so thank goodness at that time, we had worked very hard for several years to get completely out of debt. I wish that I would have done your mindset of just cutting costs. We ended up both working full-time and part-time jobs and all that. But, a comfort to me was I had to make sure that my future and planning was taken care of, because that brought me daily comfort. And so even to this day, like, we don't have cable, we don't have certain things. Are we financially in trouble? No. But I look at contributing 100% what I can in my retirement as a bill that has to be paid. It's not an option.
Yeah, pay yourself first.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jessica, if you were to give people, like, and put you on the spot with like 3 tips, like, here are 3 things you can do to better plan for your future. Like, what do you think are top priorities? Like, how important is retirement versus debt versus your mortgage?
So it depends on what the debt is. So one, I want to first say, Stacey, I love what your family did to have that delayed gratification. I think that's going to be huge to teach your boys and just kids in general. Yeah. Delayed gratification is so important, and what you guys sacrificed. I love that. So one, I think what Danielle mentioned is paying yourself first. So don't look at savings as I'll just save at the end. I think you need to save first. Debt and to the student loans piece, I think I'd say 95% of my my millennial clients, student loans is the biggest thing that hangs over their heads. I mean,
it's very sad.
It's nuts. So you have to look at debt in different buckets. So credit card debt, like we definitely need to prioritize that. Prioritizing that with the 2 different ways you can do it. You can either do highest interest rate first. Or you can do lowest balance first. It's just snowball method. It kind of just depends on what debt the person has as to what I recommend. So paying down that debt, really important. And then I think you also need to give yourself some fun money. So the way that we look at it in finances is 20% needs to go to savings. So start, for retirement, emergency fund, we need to have that set up. 20% fun. Because we all do need to do some fun things at some point in time, if you're able, or if that's something that you really want to do. And then 60% goes to fixed living expenses, whether, mortgage or just water bill, those types of things.
Which is a good way to look at that, because I think sometimes when people think savings, they're like, how much do I have to put back? I don't have enough to make an impact. Like, anything is going to help. Like anything in that account is going to be of a benefit. And
absolutely.
I feel people get overwhelmed and then they don't contribute anything. They're like, oh, I can't contribute a couple $100.
I'm like that with everything in my life. Like everything in my life. Oh, I can't work out 5 days a week, so why bother doing it one? Like, it's not worth it. But it's just not true. It's a lie.
So Einstein said that compounding interest is the 8th world wonder. So start putting as much back as you can, and you can also meet with a financial planner like myself and kind of work back from this is the age that I want to retire, this is how much I want to retire on, how much do I need to be setting back on a monthly, annual basis in order to achieve that goal.
Okay.
I just recently started doing contract work for different companies, and it's the first time that I'm going to get like a 1099 where I need to actually save to pay my taxes. And I've been doing it really well, like really diligently, even though I know like that usually we end up getting a really nice tax return. So I kind of know I could budget a little bit, but I've been saving for that so consistently that I'm like, why don't I do this in more areas where it's like, I just assume that like that money never belonged to me. And it just has to go in my tax savings account. And then the hope is that next spring I can like give myself a tax return from that savings account.
Absolutely. That would be nice.
But it just makes me realize if you just kind of think of it first, like it comes out first and it's non-negotiable.
Well,
it changes the game.
And that's how I look at it. So, like I just have a Roth and I have to give like a certain amount every year. I literally act like it's a bill. And this amount goes in the account every month. And it's non-negotiable. It's not like if I'm short that month, I do not pull out that's a savings though. I can pull from that. No, it's like my mortgage. So, and that's important because in my head, I need that comfort to know, like, if I don't pay this, I'm like, what am I going to do at 70 years old when, we don't even know if we're going to have Social Security at that point. Like, what would I do?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's important.
We'll just all live together and take care of each other.
No thanks. I'll keep saving my money.
Stacey, I have...
Do we even want to go there?
No. I would love to have a little more detail, Stacey, on give us like 3 examples of specific ways you cut back, like things you said no to. 3 is just a rough estimate. You can do 4, you can do 2, 20.
Well, I mean, the easy cuts are... cable or satellite, stuff like that. Honestly, when I really sit down and look at it, and what I tell people is, honestly, we didn't say no to a ton. We just had a plan for how to do things,
Okay.
It wasn't that I had to say no all the time. It was just at the beginning of the month, we took out cash and divvied it up into envelopes. this was our grocery money for the whole month. This is our entertainment money for the whole month, and so on and so on. And so it was just, rather than frivolous spending and like swiping my debit card everywhere I went and not paying attention to how much we were spending, it was like, all right, this is what we got every month. And what happens when you do that is, well, what happens with me, this is not my husband's case, is I hoard my money. Like, I hoard my entertainment money. You know, it's like the first of the month and people ask me to do things and I'm like, I don't know what's coming along the rest of the month, you know? Like, I gotta hoard
I might get a better offer.
That's awesome.
But
So now I know how to get Stacy. I have to be towards end of the month.
And it's honestly, like, I spend my money, I'm so intentional with my money.
Yeah.
I am
That's
spending it on things that bring me joy, that make me happy. You know, like, I can go without my Starbucks that I used to have all the time. Like, that's okay. But, like, I'm spending it on experiences. Like, my love language is quality time. So, you know, like, quality time with people, that's what I'm going to spend my money on, like, entertainment-wise for the month. So, but honestly, like, we did cut back. I mean, we were probably spending, you know, $600 a month on groceries because I wasn't paying attention when we first started. Now I have a set amount that I spend every month. So that was a huge cut. Of course,
You probably throw less away.
oh
like,
my gosh. I don't
Fruit and veggies.
throw-
Oop, they went bad.
Gotta
Like,
go. Yeah.
Seriously, I shop every single Monday for our groceries and buy just what we need for the week. And I mean, we have leftover night. Every single Thursday is leftover night in our house. I mean, we eat up everything. I never throw anything away. So
I love that.
Everything must go.
Yeah, we don't throw food away.
So you mentioned that when you first sat down and said you wanted to stay home with it's only one child at the time, and it was like financially impossible, and then it took you 4 years? 2 years to pay off the debt?
It took about 4 years to pay off the debt.
At what point could you stay home?
After I stayed home when my son turned 1. That was the week that I quit. I put in like my 1 month notice when he was like 11 months, and so like right at his 1 year birthday.
So what kind of prep did you have to do for that? Because I think some people think like, well, I'm just going to quit today because I want to.
Right,
did you put prep in and like make that possible and then continue to make it more comfortable? Like,
Yeah,
what that
that's-
transition look like?
Yeah, so the transition was I quit my job, and before I quit my job, I had lined up to do a little bit of in-home childcare for a friend. So even though I was quitting my job, I was still getting a little bit of income
Yeah,
from
which is
watching my
important,
friends'
the backup.
kids. I started selling Rodan and Fields as a side hustle as well. So that's what I was doing, selling Rodan and Fields and watching my friend's baby. I did that, you know, watch my friend's baby for another year. After another year of paying off debt, then I was able to kind of cut that out. But, you know, like I also sold tons of stuff on, you know, like Facebook Marketplace, you know, like those were things that we did. Anywhere, any little way that we could make money somehow, you know, like we snatch it up and take
That's
that
so smart.
opportunity.
Because I think that, you know, one kind of risk is that people are like, oh, well, I want to live this way and I want to do this thing, and then they kind of get
They don't have a
themselves into,
plan.
they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
They get into financial trouble. And I think that financial security is important to a level. Like, we don't want to get to the point where we're worshiping our money and making sure that like there's no risk of ever not having enough. But we also don't want to make frivolous decisions that land us in bad places that then are bad for our kids. And like, there's just something about financial struggles that can really like break apart a marriage
Oh, definitely.
and a family. So
And one thing too, when we paid off our debt and like made that big like Dave Ramsey post, like woo woo, you know, like we did our debt free scream. Everybody was like, yeah, like go on vacation and go do this and go do this. And I was like, no. Like, that's not how it works.
So what is your next plan? Like, are you saving for like a particular like amount that you want to have
Are you
for
able
retirement?
to now like put back for retirement
Yes.
and make like an ultimate
Yes.
future plan?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to make this like a Dave Ramsey thing, but like that's what we do. Like, we follow his steps. So like the next thing was, okay, now we need to build up our savings, which we did that. And then after that, it's like, okay, now we need to start investing in our retirement. And so that's like, we paid off our debt last July. we literally just this past week finalized like opening all of our new retirement accounts. So like that's done. We did pay for a vacation though that we're taking this
I was
summer.
gonna ask, like, is there anything? Yeah.
Like we are taking a vacation,
Yeah.
but it wasn't the first thing we did. Like we were smart and put some other things in place first that were more important.
Yeah.
But no, like we do now have that money freed up. I mean, I'll just put it right out there. We were paying about $900 a month just in student loans.
Wow.
So we literally have, $900 a month. Now, a lot of it, that's going to retirement. But I'm able to save now, and we are able to take a vacation and pay for it in cash. We're not using credit cards, that's
I love that.
that's how it's supposed to work.
And that's important, and I appreciate like you sharing that and all that. But some people are not going to be as, what do I say, strict, be able to do that.
It's
Like that's
hard.
amazing.
Yeah, it's hard.
So if someone's not, can they
I don't
come?
have that control.
I do not have that. I mean, thank goodness. I got very fortunate and was able to pay some of my student loans. I worked full time while I went to college, so I didn't get in as big of debt. But I can't tell you I have that discipline to use cash because I try and then I run out of cash and I'm like, oh, there's this money over here that I'll just use. So if people do not have that discipline, how can a financial advisor kind of help with that discipline? Because I would not have that discipline.
Well, so I think, Stacey, your talk about having a plan, that's my work love language, you gotta have a plan. So it's building that roadmap. And even for us, our family, we've utilized a financial planner as well, just because you need a third party to sometimes give you that advice and mediate. So it's coming up with a game plan. Like these dollars are going to go towards this. These dollars are going to go towards this. And like having your envelopes basically. And whether you do that on a systematic basis or you do that, with a financial advisor, it's really important to just come up with that roadmap and that game plan and stick to it. And like I said earlier, some people, it is hard to have that diligence of, hey, we're not gonna take that vacation. We're not gonna use those credit cards. So some people, it may take them a little bit longer to pay down the debt that they have, but they really need that balance in their life to take a vacation. So going back to that 20-60-20 rule is really important as well. So you can still
So you don't get burnt out.
Yes, you don't get burnt out.
Because I mean, and some people, I mean, if you took my vacations away, I mean, I go on like mini trips like 6 or 7 times a year. Like that is like we don't have cable, we have a slow internet, like we go on vacation. And like we don't overdo it on vacation, but I just need to go somewhere.
I mean, Ohio in the winter.
If I didn't have that, then I would I need to.
Well, and I think it goes, Stacey mentioned that she would use her fun money for things that brought her joy. And that's going to be different for every one of us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because honestly, a Starbucks coffee really brings me joy. Like I get one
Starbucks
3
coffee,
times
but
a week.
I could do without it.
Yeah.
It's different.
At
for everyone.
least 3 times a week. There was a day. It was Good Friday. Good Friday before Easter, and I was home with my kids, and I needed to work all day while they played and did whatever. They're 7 and 9, so it was fine. And we literally only left the house so Mommy could go get Starbucks.
That's DoorDash.
Well, that's even more expensive.
Yeah,
so
no.
I at least drove there. Thank you very much.
You know what? This is where I look at it. Let me go there.
And wait, for the record, I was out of coffee creamer, so I didn't even have the option because I won't drink it black. I didn't have the option to drink it at home.
I have a DoorDash like somehow promotion thing that it only costs $1.99 for them to deliver my coffee, and this is the way I look at it. It's probably about a 15-minute drive from my house.
Oh, you'd spend that in gas, and I mean, if time is money.
My time is my money because I own a business. So like, it costs me more than $1.99 to drive to Montrose and get that Starbucks. But here's the big thing: if I stop working to get in my car to get the Starbucks to come back, I just lost 2 hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally just lost 2 hours.
Justification.
So that's my justification.
To get coffee.
Because I stopped working.
The distraction.
And then I get home and I have to drink my coffee and then I have to be like, what was I working on? And then I have to restart. My kids know.
Hey, Danielle, just pay me to get your coffee for you. I live right down the street. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Time is money. Well, it's funny. 'cause
I'll pay you to get my coffee.
I'll only charge you $1 instead of $1.99. Like, that'll be my new side hustle.
she is going to be my next call. But you have to look at, like, my kids know. Like, if mommy's working, don't come talk to her. Because if you ask me one question, I have to restart the entire, like, project I was just working on because I'm, like, distracted.
That's special.
Yeah. It's,
I think too is like knowing what you love to do and like what you don't love to do. So
and making that a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like I bake cake pops on the side. It's like kind of my
It gives me anxiety watching her do this.
yeah. But so I have a bakery. It's called La Hoot Bakery. You can find it on Facebook. Maybe we'll link it in the comments if our producer is still hired during the show.
We don't have a producer.
But anyways, so I bake cake pops on. I make cake pops on the side, and they're not necessarily like because of the time it takes.
She's not making anything from them.
No, because of the time it takes. But I like making cake pops and making $50 so that I can then use that $50 to get my nails done.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I know that I'm like, in my mind, it's a trade, right? Like, so I find ways that I can make a little bit of money in order to do the things that are luxuries that I don't need, but I just enjoy. But it's like finding that joy and finding those things that are important to you. Other people, they could care less if they get their nails done ever.
Yeah. No, I see that. Your cake pops just stress. They're beautiful. They're wonderful if you need
They're
cake
delicious.
pops.
I made Spider-Man ones last
They
week.
stress
They
me
were pretty
out
awesome.
because I will
I'll
talk to
post
her
a picture later.
for like 5 hours on Marco Polo, and she's still making the same cake pops. And I'm like, what are you still doing that for? How are you still doing that? So, yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh, he...
Oh yeah, we tagged it in the comments.
So, yeah.
Hank
I
still has a job.
temporarily, we will be holding open auditions come
Yeah.
right now. So, I mean, I think this is important to see the different levels and see that. And so that's great. So let's, where were we?
So my next question is, how do you think your financial decisions impact the future of your family? How does it impact your kids?
Yeah, so your kid, like, because obviously, you know, your kids are young. Like, they might not understand, why is mommy going to work? Your kids may not understand mommy's home every day.
And why
You know.
can't I have McDonald's?
And why can't I have McDonald's every
They
day?
get it every Friday. They get McDonald's every Friday.
That's
Every-
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Grandma buys it for them, though, not me.
Now that is smart.
That is good. That is good.
That's working
So,
it.
kind of talk a little bit about how, you know, they really might not understand now because they're young, but as they get older, kind of why are you doing what you do and how is that going to impact them? And hopefully, you know, continue your legacy, but then also start theirs.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. For us, one, we love the daycare that our child go to. Like,
So do I.
He loves it. My son really thrives there. My daughter's really young, and this was her first week. For me, him interacting with his friends, and they were just doing some dinosaur stomp paint. Like, they were like taking toy dinosaurs and dipping them
Do
in
they
paint.
still have the sensory table?
Yes.
I hated it and loved it all. at the
Well,
same
so
time.
they're like stomping these paint like ridden dinosaurs. I'm like, thank God that doesn't happen.
That
in
will
my house.
never happen in my
It
house.
will never happen
Never.
in my house.
Are we allowed to mention where they go? Because I really do love it. They go to the JCC,
That's up to her.
Yeah.
which is where my kids go.
You're looking at me. I don't
Like
care.
I meant like just like they are an amazing facility
It's
that
an
does all the things that do not bring that home.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
all
so
those
it's,
things.
it's amazing. So one, he really thrives there with the interaction. So that's really awesome for him. And then for me, I think it's really important for them to see me as a mom impacting others. So while what I do is, I'm able to contribute to the household monetarily, I think more than anything, it's the impact I make on other people's lives. Like, I really, truly believe that an interaction with a family and the steps that we take really makes them better off financially, and hopefully it helps them leave a legacy for their their own family. Like, I'm helping other people create their own legacies by building a game plan and a plan around their finances. So I hope that they see that as me being helping other people. It's really a helping and teaching career, and I'm steward of other people's retirement dollars, and just being a good steward of that and helping people and guiding them towards what's best for them financially. So hopefully that they'll look back on that and see that I was able to make an impact on a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How about you, Stacey?
Yeah. I mean, obviously for me, it was really important for me to stay home. Not that I have any issues with mothers who work. I think both dynamics are awesome for whatever works for each family. But for me, growing up, my mother stayed home too. But I don't feel like we had a lot of conversations about money growing up, and I don't like blame my parents for anything like that. I feel like it was just kind of a different time. But I try to have really, I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old. I try to have conversations about money with my 5-year-old. My 3-year-old, has no idea, but just he knows, like, we've got our envelopes. He loves to go to we go like to Pinnacle Gymnastics on Fridays. They have open play, and it's $5 a kid, so it's $10 every time we go. And he knows, like, we can't go every week because we don't have enough money in our budget. And I love being able to just say that to him, and he's okay with it. Like, are we going to gymnastics today? No, we don't have enough money today. Okay, and like, so what can we do with no money? And and him helping me come up with ideas.
I love that.
Like, I don't have, like, it's always been like part of his conversation. When we go to the store, he sees me paying with cash. He doesn't see me swiping cards. So he's like understanding, like, you have to give this over. I've never had him have like a meltdown in Target, when I have to say, like, we can't buy this. Like, he just understands it because it's always been our conversation. And I just think that's really important. That's my goal for him, is to always, like, not necessarily pay cash for everything, but just knowing that you have to have the money before you buy something.
You have to have it before
you have to buy it.
Yeah. Which I think is, I mean, I'm not saying like our generation is perfect, but everything's
I don't know.
being charged.
We're perfect.
Everything's being charged. They don't teach this in the schools.
Oh, financial literacy needs to be taught.
Yeah,
Well, it is taught, and that's the sad thing, is it's a required. I used to be a high school teacher, and I could teach it. I didn't teach it, but in Ohio, every freshman has to take a financial literacy class for 9 weeks.
Really? I don't think I took that.
Well, it was probably before you.
You're
like,
a little
after,
too old.
Yeah, you're too old. You're too old.
Well, my thought is, and I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but there's a few family members of mine that, like, oh, you need it, you charge it. And we were not raised that way.
Yeah.
Like growing up, my mom, she was a manager at Key Bank. Like, we were raised very, if you don't have the money, you don't buy it. And that's how we were raised. But it's different to see the younger generations in our family go, oh, we'll just charge it and we'll find the money later. You don't find money, guys. You don't find it.
I knew someone once who, well, I still know them, but they said, well, just go to the ATM. The ATM always has money. And I was like, oh, okay.
But honestly, like, so you guys said, like, financial literacy needs to be taught in schools. Is that really the school's job, though? Like, is
the parents should be teaching?
Job?
No,
Like,
I think it is the parents hugely, because you've got these kids that, it needs to start young.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, 3. I think it's awesome at 5. But
just a conversation. Like, I mean, I don't budget with my 5-year-old. It's just a matter of, like, that is the conversation. Like, he knows if we don't have, like, I show him our empty envelopes. Look, there's no money. Like, what can we do? We can't buy it. And so I don't think he even realizes that you can swipe a card to buy things, like, he doesn't know that.
But then
I was going to add too, but on like the flip side of that, if you are in a place where you aren't a financially like responsible, like if you've kind of done the steps where you're making good financial decisions, my husband and I do put every single thing on a credit card, but we never don't pay our credit card.
Yeah,
that sounds like a weird sentence to say.
You pay it off every month.
We pay it off I pay it off every few days so that it doesn't get away from me. Like, I'm always paying it off, but then I get like a check every month for the credit card points. But if you're not in a financially responsible place, that's dangerous because you end up paying the interest.
And
even though you're getting the points. But we just like I keep paying it off so I know where we're at and I'm keeping that marker, but why not get the extra points too in the meantime?
Yeah, and that's kind of where we are at. We are 100% out of debt, besides our home. And I actually, I'm excited. I actually like pay extra on our house now because that was what was important to me. But something that, my kids see is, yes, we put everything on my credit card because when I worked at the hospital in the surgical department, I got paid on the 28th of the month. I only got paid once a month. So I got in the habit of, charging, but I don't buy, like if I'm going to buy some odds in it, like something way off, it's not groceries, not gas, furniture or, patio set or something, big. And I don't put that on my credit card. I purposely am like, I have to have cash for that so it doesn't get away from me.
No. As long as your money's already in the bank to transfer to your credit card the same day, you put that on the credit card, you earn those points, and you put the cash right on it.
I don't do that because that worries me. So I have to, that's
but
my
only
limit.
if you did it, I do those things the same day.
But
I pay it the same day. It's like this, wash.
But what I've started to do with my daughter, and I just started doing this, and my daughter is 11, she sees my credit card statement, and we sit down, and she'll go, this is always the question, Mom, you spend way too much on Amazon. I'm like, we buy dog food and cleaning stuff on Amazon too. Don't judge. But we sit down and we cash out, I show her and I'm like, well, we have to write this check, but we have this much in the account. And so she sees that money being transferred. And so I'm teaching her as well that it has to be paid off monthly. It is not an option to not pay that off.
So Hank had a question on if we do it my method, is there ever any interest?
No.
I don't pay a penny of interest to my credit cards. Not a penny. I will not pay interest on a credit card. So as long as you're paying it off as quickly as you're putting it on.
But she literally pays her credit card every few days, so it never gets away from her.
But if you pay it before the bill comes.
So what I typically do is, so I run a business, so I need to reconcile all my expenses. So, taxes, I had lunch with a client, so that's all tax deductible, those activities. So what I typically do is at the end of the month when I receive that credit card statement, I reconcile all those things. So this was, this was a lunch with so-and-so tax, I have that in my spreadsheet for my accountant. This was, I paid for stamps to send something to a client. So I reconcile all that in my spreadsheet and on a monthly basis. And then I pay it off, so I don't have to pay any interest as well. And I think that's really the best way to do it. But I think we should also acknowledge that not everybody's in that position. And how do you get yourself out of that hole? So one tip,
and I think that goes back to the discipline. I'm not disciplined enough as Stacy to say no and have envelopes and follow cash, but I won't pay interest. So I'm disciplined enough that I know when I'm spending something and where I'm about at. And there's a couple months where I'm like, ooh, that's a little over, that's like 100 and something over what I thought it was going to be or something. But I make sure that still gets paid off. And I think that that's important.
Absolutely. Well, one tip I think for folks is really important is if you do have a lot of credit card debt with high interest, there are no interest credit cards out there, and being able to transfer that balance and really work at paying it down. Again, you need to be diligent at it, but that is a possibility. So don't get discouraged if you do have credit card debt because you can work yourself out of the hole.
We'll link her in the comments and she'll help you dig yourself out of the hole.
One thing I do really want to say about the whole credit, because I know this is people's arguments for using credit cards a lot, is getting the travel miles or whatever, but
it's not worth debt.
It's, no, because she's not in debt, she's paying it off, and I totally get that. But when you go into it, this is literally proven fact that when you walk into, let's say, Starbucks to place, we'll even say
Target,
anywhere,
you'll spend more.
Target.
You Target, Hobby Lobby, and Target.
If you're swiping a credit card, you will spend
That's
more
true.
than if you have cash.
Very
and so
true.
it really, when you think about those, that check you get in the mail from the credit card company, is that more than what you would save by paying cash?
That's a good
Probably not.
Honestly, so this is
It's
really
probably
funny because I had a friend who's also a financial advisor. She posted a meme I'm a financial advisor, but you go into Target and like 1, 2, 3, 4 things.
Those
all of a sudden it's
dollar
like $100. How did I spend $100 at Target? Yes,
Yeah.
I totally get you. With
So if
like,
I only have this, I only walk into Target with $20 to buy toilet paper and paper towels and
Like you have to be
Laundry
conscious
detergent.
of it.
dollar rack isn't
Because,
getting
or you're
you.
at the
Yeah.
register,
Exactly.
or you're at the register and you're like, oh, I don't have enough. That's embarrassing. So you've got to like be
Right.
more
Yeah.
diligent and
And
conscious.
I think that what you're teaching, like especially for your son, like to see, like it's a very tangible thing. Like
Yeah.
the credit card, and I think that's the problem with credit cards is like you don't see it; it's just a swipe.
yeah.
Like the money is actually a tangible thing, and I think
Yeah.
that's
It's
really
like I
important.
just want to like buy what we need
Mhm.
and have the money for the things we really want. Like,
Right.
that's what's important, you know? Like
Hashtag.
you have to
That's
buy
too
what
long
you
of a
need.
hashtag, but I like it.
I
Buy
don't
what you
go to those
need
places.
and have the things you really want.
I don't go to those places because I don't
even know
need
what Ollie's
anything.
is.
Ollie's is, so there's like Gabe's, Big Lots, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ollie's is like bigger than that though. It's like appliances, furniture, clothes, like everything.
Like Costco.
You'll listen, guys.
Kind of, but cheap.
You'll find the same air fryer at Target for $150 at Ollie's.
But I don't go in those places.
It's like
No.
that thing
Yeah,
where
yeah.
they get it off.
Okay.
It's
I'll just
Big
check it out.
Lots, Ollie's, those kind of
I'll
places.
check it out.
Ollie's, Big Lots, Big
I'll
Lots,
check out Ollie's.
Gabriel
Like
Brothers.
South Hill.
All right.
Yeah.
Go get the deals. So here's a question. There's a verse somewhere in the Bible. I'm bad at quoting it, so don't ask me where it is. But that where your money is, there your heart will be also.
Yes.
So how have we seen that to be true in our lives? Like that when we put money into something, that's where our mind and our heart goes.
Or, yeah. And it was said that, the thing you pay the most of on your checkbook is where your heart is. That's how I've heard it, transport. I think
Unfortunately,
Jeff did a-
mine is food. If we want to just have like a confession time, food, delicious.
Mine is quality time, just like spending time with my friends and family. Like that's what brings me joy. That's why I hoard my money until a really good opportunity comes up to spend time with people.
At the end of the month.
At the end of the
The
month.
end of the month.
I'm gonna have like all these texts from people on like the 20th.
That's
and
funny
29th of the
because
month.
I want to say that my biggest expense is my retirements and my savings. And the reason that is because I've watched so many older people live this beautiful life and then get to this point where they then have grandbabies and they can't do anything with them. And I remember being taken to Arby's, counting coupons and sharing fries and all of that because they didn't have a retirement or anything. So I want to say my biggest is actually my retirements and stuff because I want my kids to see and their kids to see consistency of living and not like this great life and then nothing. It's kind of like where your mind's at.
I think also tithing, like if you tithe and giving to your whatever organization that you feel passionate about, whether it's church, whether it's a charity, and some people may not genuinely have the dollars, so tithing time as well. I think that you can't get caught up in too much how many dollars that you have. Really, at the end of the day, life is about, no one's going to care about, your bank account size. I mean, it's also in the Bible, you can't fit a camel through the eye of a needle. So you
Right.
can't take it with you.
No.
Right.
No.
So what can you do with it while you have for the most good? Whether it's tithing that, whether it's helping your children through college, not having like the necessarily hoarding the pile, but more how you are going to use that and being it, because it's not really ours. Like at the end of the day,
No.
it's a blessing from God in my view. Your ability to work, your career is a blessing from God. So being a good steward of that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because saving for retirement is important, but at the same time, like none of us knows if we'll get there.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, like, what good are you doing with your funds along the way?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Important.
And then,
It's a healthy balance, right? Like being responsible in the sense of planning ahead and saving, but then also like living in the moment in a responsible way. I think it's really cool. My husband and I kind of always have this idea that, like, if something's being generous to others, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Loving and generous.
yeah, like,
Mhm.
hey, this person's raising money for this thing. Yes. Hey, like, I'd really like to have these people over for dinner on Friday, but it's going to cost, it might cost this much in pizza, or we need to buy these groceries to make this thing. Yes. Like, the answer
Loving
is always
and building
yes
that relationship.
if it's for others. And then we just always kind of, like, trust God to kind of take care of that part. Like, if we're being wise with the rest of our funds.
And I think that is very important. And I do think, you said trust God. I feel like, wherever, and we all sitting at this table, I would say are on the same page in that. And people watching, everybody might not be on that same page.
Yeah.
And not saying that, but just in general, trusting that it's going to be okay. And that if you are a good steward and you are following through and you are making responsible decisions, that living your life and being good and building those relationships and all of that are going to get you.
And to identify, too, to the people watching that maybe they're in a season of tragedy where credit card is their current reality. And, like,
yeah.
I just want to, like, not everybody can just figure out how to live on cash. I think in a what our culture would consider like a normal day-to-day life, you should be able to figure that out. But there are tragedy and there are extenuating
Definitely.
circumstances and there are loss of jobs and there are those things. They're very real. And so just not to feel shame if you're not in that place, but maybe take some nuggets, use what nuggets you can, and then retain the others for when your season of life changes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think more than anything, it's being a good steward of your money. It's not getting focused on how much is in the pile.
Yes.
Like, make the plan, stick to the plan.
Yeah.
And like,
for
if
sure.
you keep on working with the plan, you really can, whether you believe in God or not, just the trust that the plan is working.
Yeah.
Like, in,
Yeah.
My husband and I always say it is not how much money we make. My husband is a teacher, a high school teacher. That's the income we live on. It's not how much you make, it is what you do with your money. you know?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you have to live within your means. You have to spend less than you make. That's just the reality of
And
it.
that can be hard to dig yourself out of a hole. And there are people like Jessica or, Dave Ramsey programs and things all over to help you get to that reality to be able to make that happen. I think sometimes, and I'm speaking from experience, your hole becomes so deep that you kind of are like, oh, I'm already here. I might as well do this, this, and this. And that's, it's never too deep to dig your way out and ask for help and look for ways to get out of that.
Yeah, and if you are someone watching that wants that help or listening back later, just send us a private message on Facebook or Instagram, and
Connect you with someone.
Danielle and I can help you. Or if you're looking for financial
I
planning,
will
we'll
sit
connect you with
down and,
Jessica.
share my story and what we did.
Yeah.
Anything.
That's the thing, and that's why I think we try to bring guests that can kind of share totally different opinions, and each person's going to be in different areas of their lives, and we want to help in any way we can. So please never feel you can't reach out and can't that we're going to judge, or you're in a situation that we can't understand. Because if we can't help you or we can't sit down and figure it out, we will find somebody who can.
Yeah.
So for sure.
Yeah. So I think kind of just to bring it all together is just the decisions you make. It doesn't so much matter which decisions you're making, but why you're making them. The impact that it's having on your family, on your kids, on your future, making sure that you're being responsible while not also worshiping the idea of saving in a way that you can't take that money with you.
No, not at all.
So what do we have up next, Danielle?
Next week is vacationing with your kids.
Or without.
your kids. Like, what's the, we're going to kind of talk about, do you leave them at home with grandma and go, with your significant other sometimes? Do you do a girls trip and a guys trip to just build yourself up?
Yes.
You all pile in the van and take them all?
Yes.
Amy does them all. So kind of those are like our three main things we're going to look at. Kind of tips on how to survive vacationing with your kids. tips on how to survive with your significant other on vacation.
I will be tuning in. We're doing our first family vacation.
Yeah,
this
so
summer,
you need all the
like,
tips.
I need to
So-
hear this.
I'm really excited. We're still kind of I do have one confirmed guest.
Yeah, we're working on guests.
I do have
So-
one confirmed guest. I don't want to say too much because we have a lot of viewers that know her, and it's like a surprise guest. So I don't want to give too many close details about it.
Feels fancy.
But let me tell you, this person knows how to travel with an army, literally and figuratively, and she is amazing at it. And we are going to be so excited to kind of hear what she has to say and what her tips are and how she survives it. So no, but and then we're working on another guest, so those will be surprises, but we promise to give some great information. It should be a fun show. Yeah,
I'm excited
I'll
about
be
it.
tuning in.
Me
Yeah.
too.
yeah, it's yeah, and then even traveling with different ages, like
Oh, yeah.
All
I'll
the
make it
diapers. All the diapers.
I will never. So my first vacation was when my kids turned 5. I was taking them to Disney. So I work for 31 Gifts, and they are big promoters in Disney, and so we can go to Disney for free once a year if we want. And I took a 1-year-old on his first birthday and a 5-year-old on her first birthday. Drove all the way to Disney.
Wow.
And did it in the park with the stroller and the diapers, and I was nursing and all the things because I had to do everything.
Well, and I went to Disney with my kids when they were 6 and 8, so that's gonna have to be a whole conversation
Yeah.
next week about why I didn't do that.
Mine wasn't. I mean,
It sounds
I don't
pretty
really
bad.
remember it.
Terrible.
I think
terrible.
I might have like
That's a really expensive version of.
I may have blacked
Not
blacked
heaven.
out part of the time because I don't remember a lot of
I
details
was
of
gonna
that
say.
day.
All right, so that is what you have to look forward to next week. We're excited about it. Thursdays at 8 on Facebook Live. We're gonna be dropping this as a podcast soon, you guys. So get excited.
All right. Thanks for being here
Yeah,
tonight.
thank you guys so
Thanks
much.
for having
All right.
us. This was fun.
Have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Good evening.